This is Seth David from the world-famous Nerd Enterprises Incorporated, bringing to you another special screencast. This time we're talking about managing and tracking your inventory with QuickBooks, Segment 1, an introduction to setting up an item. Knowledge is power. Make an impact by learning more. Call me right now at 866-945-8070 for information about private trainings. We record the live session with you so that you can review it as often as you like afterwards. Hi, okay, we're going to talk about an introduction to setting up your inventory in QuickBooks. Done a lot of stuff on inventory over the last few years, and it seems to be popular because it seems to be an area that gives people trouble. So I thought it would be wise on several levels actually to do a series on inventory and also to hold a live webinar on the topic, which I am planning on holding this coming March 2012, and we're looking at a target date on this, and I'm just glancing over here at my other screen so I can look at my calendar. March 23rd, Friday, March 23rd from 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. is when we're going to plan on doing a 3-hour live workshop / webinar on managing and tracking your inventory in QuickBooks. This will be an amazing opportunity to get your questions answered directly from me at a fraction of what it would cost to hire me directly to work with you one-on-one remotely, which is not to say that that option is not available too, but this is just less expensive. So, how do we begin to set up inventory? Well, when we're talking about inventory, we're talking about the products we sell, right? So, in order to set that up, in QuickBooks, our product list, the list of things that we sell, is also called our item list. And we're going to find that here in the lists menu under item list. Or as you can see, I've created an icon in the icon bar that brings up this list right away. This is our item list. This is where our products are going. There are several different types of items that we may want to set up. And the first thing you'll want to do to make sure you can set them up, all of them that is go into your edit menu and go to your preferences and then go over here to items and inventory and then to the company preferences. Make sure that inventory and purchase orders are active. This is not turned on by default, so you do have to go in here and turn this feature on. And then check some of the other options, see what you think you might prefer. We'll come back to this and look at this in a little more detail in a future video. So make sure that everything is, that the inventory, the items in inventory or inventory and purchase orders are active. Then once you change that setting, QuickBooks will prompt you and say that it has to close all the windows in order to change that preference. So go ahead and allow it to do that, and then you can come back to your item list. And now, when you go to create a new item, which you can do once you're in your item list, down here at the bottom left where it says item, or as with any list, click edit and you'll have a choice to create a new version of that thing, whatever list you're in. In this case, it's a new item because we're in the item list. So then QuickBooks is going to let us know that there is an Add Edit Multiple List Entries feature, which enables you to add lots of items very quickly. We'll also look at that in a future video. But the main thing here is, if we're selling something that we want to track the quantities for, we're going to be selling an inventory part. This option would not have been available had I not changed that preference. So we want to create inventory parts. And when we create an inventory part, we have to give it a name. We have to assign it a cost of goods sold account, and we have to assign it an income account. And I'll get into more detail in terms of what that all means in the next segment, the next video that I do on this. But the first thing we want to do is create our items. So what are we selling for a living? What products do we sell? For everybody it's going to be different. So I'm just going to use a generic, very common, famous generic thing called a widget. Actually, let's be more interesting. Let's call it a whatchamacallit. And then I have to assign the cost of goods sold account, comes in by default as cost of goods sold. And then I have to assign the income account. For now, we'll just assign it to sales. And then in the next video that I do on this, I'll go into a little bit more detail about what this is all about, how this works, and what it looks like. But that's all it takes to add an item to add an inventory item into your item list. We don't have anything on hand yet. We don't have anything ready to sell. All we've done is created the infrastructure so that we can sell this thing when the time comes. So the next thing we're going to take a look at in the next video is going to be on some of the aspects of setting up the item. What's going on when I sell the item? What's the cost of goods sold account? What's the income account? How does this all come into the picture? How does this all play in? And we'll also, of course, show you how to receive an item into inventory now that we've got one set up on the books. I hope you found this helpful. Hope you're having an absolutely fantastic day, and I look forward to seeing you on the web. This is Seth David from the world-famous Nerd Enterprises Incorporated, bringing to you another special screencast. This time we're talking about managing and tracking your inventory with QuickBooks, Segment 1, an introduction to setting up an item. Knowledge is power. Make an impact by learning more. Call me right now at 866-945-8070 for information about private trainings. We record the live session with you so that you can review it as often as you like after. This is Seth David from the world-famous Nerd Enterprises Incorporated, bringing to you another special screencast. This time we're talking about managing and tracking your inventory with QuickBooks. Segment 2, recording your inventory purchase in QuickBooks. Knowledge is power. Make an impact by learning more. Call me right now at 866-945-8070 for information about private trainings. We record the live session with you so that you can review it as often as you like afterwards. Hi. Okay, we're talking about how to purchase inventory, or how to record your inventory purchase in QuickBooks. As I mentioned in the blog post, we're dealing with the acquisition of inventory. We're acquiring an asset. And as with any purchase of anything, there are a few basic ways to do it in QuickBooks, and a lot of that, which one you choose, depends on how you're actually either going to pay for the thing or how you did actually pay for the thing. So speaking of going to pay for the thing, that means we're entering a bill, right? If I'm paying for it at some point in the future, then I'm getting a bill for the item and I'm entering that in QuickBooks. Anytime I'm dealing with inventory, or for that matter, anytime I need to get inventory onto the books in QuickBooks, I'm dealing with my items tab here. And once I'm in my items tab, whatever I enter in here is going to add these items into inventory in QuickBooks. That's the key, is I need to be able to enter in quantity and cost to arrive at the total amount. That's the only way to actually get items properly into inventory in QuickBooks. And you'll notice that every single transaction type has this same items tab at the bottom of it. Whether I'm writing a check, I've got my items tab. If I'm entering a credit card charge, I've got my items tab. So just depending on how I've actually paid for the thing or how I'm going to pay for it, that's what determines which one of these transaction types I'm going to use. But the bottom section of each of these transaction types is identical. So let's say I'm just paying for the inventory outright. We'll get rid of these. And we'll come in here and I have my whatchamacallit. And let's say I want to buy 10 of these at a cost of $2.50. Totals $25. I pay for it out of my bank account. Let's say I'm paying for it with a debit card, purchasing directly from my supplier. Save and close. That one's very simple. Now if I go to my item list, you can see I've got a quantity on hand of 20 because I'd recorded a purchase like this once before. So that brings up the next question. What do I do when I've got prepaid inventory on the books? Let's run a balance sheet. When I have prepaid inventory on the books, it means I'm paying for it now. But the especially important part of this is I don't want to record that inventory into QuickBooks. I don't want to add that inventory into QuickBooks because I'm not going to have it for a while. And I don't want to sell inventory I don't have yet. So I want to make sure my inventory counts are accurate, which means I can't really record a prepaid inventory transaction right into inventory. And the point here again is that I'm not expecting to receive this stuff for a while. So what we need to do is we need to create an account in the book called Inventory Prepaid. And the reason I like to call it Inventory Prepaid, by the way, is so that it shows up right next to the Inventory Asset account in the chart of accounts. Notice I've already got it created. It's right here, Inventory Prepaid. So when I'm prepaying for inventory, and let's assume I did it via, wire again. What I want to do is, let's say I'm prepaying, let's say I'm going to buy $2,500 worth of inventory, so I have to put 50% down. So I need to pay $1,250. I'm going to record that to this inventory prepaid account, and that way it doesn't affect inventory quantities. Remember, the items tab is where I have to go to affect inventory quantities. This is simply going to put the value of what I'm prepaying for onto the balance sheet as a prepaid. Save and close, update the balance sheet. There it is, it shows up as inventory prepaid. Now, when it's a month later and I'm actually going to get the inventory, I do need to add this onto the books. And so at this point, we always want to do this as a bill. Even if I'm wiring the money right away today, you're going to see why. Because I need to be able to apply this $1,250 to that. And I can't do that if I simply record a wire. So at this point, we're going to record a bill to my supplier for the whole $2,500. But we're not doing it to inventory prepaid now. We're going to come over here to items, and we're going to do it. But remember, we have to do it for the full amount. So we're buying 1,000 of these, comes to the $2,500. When I hit save and close, you'll see my inventory asset just went up by $2,500. I've still got my inventory prepaid. And if I go to pay that bill, which is what I need to do next, the problem is I'm not paying the whole $2,500. I'm only paying the $1,250, which means I need to get this other $1,250 applied to this bill. And the easiest way to do that without getting into journal entries is to record a bill, except now instead of a bill, we're going to do a credit. And it's going to be from my supplier, and it's going to be for the $1,250. And the account it's going to come out of is that inventory prepaid. Now watch what happens on the inventory prepaid account. If I put this in here, once I save this credit, it's going to zero out. Sure enough, there it does. And I come over here and now I've got a credit available to be applied here. So I choose set credits. I click done. Now the entire bill gets paid off. Pay selected. I've got my prepaid inventory zeroing out. Let's go to the item list. Now I've got 1,020 items in inventory. Remember, it was 20 before, so I just added 1,000 in because I entered that bill. Notice now my inventory asset is there. The prepaid inventory is gone because it's zeroed out. So that's how you're going to deal with prepaid inventory. And at the end of the day, that's how you're going to deal with getting items of inventory onto the books. It's very simple. Whatever the transaction type is that I'm recording, whether it's a check, a credit card, or a bill, I need to be in my items tab, and I need to enter the quantity and the cost. I can never do this with a journal entry because notice, if I go to enter a journal entry, there's no place here to put a quantity. I could debit the inventory asset account for the value of the inventory, but that's not going to get that inventory to show up here on my item list. And that presents some challenges, which is why specifically you always have to deal with it by using the items tab in one of these transaction types. And if you watch my video that I've got on how to account for trade-in inventory, you'll see actually how to get inventory quantities onto the books where you haven't actually paid for the inventory. And that's an interesting video for you just to understand a little bit deeper the mechanics of getting inventory onto the books in QuickBooks, especially where you haven't actually paid for it and never will. That, my friends, is this week's segment on how to get your inventory purchased and onto the books in QuickBooks. As always, if you have any questions, email me, Seth@nerdenterprises.com. Give me a call at 866-945-8070 for additional training and consulting information. I hope you're having an absolutely fantastic day, and I look forward to seeing you on the web. This is Seth David from the world-famous Nerd Enterprises Incorporated, bringing to you another special screencast. This time we're talking about managing and tracking your inventory with QuickBooks. Segment 2, recording your inventory purchase in QuickBooks. Knowledge is power. Make an impact by learning more. Call me right now at 866-945-8070 for information about private trainings. We record the live session with you so that you can review it as often as you like afterwards.
Hello, my name is Mike Goodwin, and today I'm going to show you how easy it is to create a piece of inventory in the DealerLogic software system and then to send that inventory over to QuickBooks. So to begin, we're going to create a brand new piece of inventory. Click on the New Inventory button. It'll open up a window that allows us to fill out a vehicle record sheet. You can assign a stock number. It accepts alphanumeric values, so I'm going to give it a simple stock number. Winnebago WB 99887. And we're going to bring it in stock right away. We're just going to fill out the vehicle card. So it's a new Class A motorhome. It's a 2012 Winnebago. Adventure 35P is the floor plan. We put in the VIN number. $99,887. Selling price $159,000. And the date we bought the unit was 01/01 of 2012. Exterior color, the ebony. Interior, sage. Odometer reading was 1375, and it's a gas chassis. Oops. Ford chassis. 35 feet. Okay, now we can enter in an itemized charge. This is typically when you enter in what you paid for the vehicle. There's different types here. We'll just put in what we paid for the invoice that we paid Winnebago. And you can add additional itemized charges as well. We're going to floor plan this unit, so we're going to click on the Administration tab. Add over here. We floor it with Bank of America. That's our floor plan company. And we're going to put in the amount that we floor it for, which is typically the same as what your invoice amount is. You can add pictures of the vehicle and options and features. I'm just going to go ahead and save this right now because I want to really show you how it goes over to QuickBooks. So once that inventory piece has been brought in to Dealer Logic, what we do now is that the accounting staff will want to bring that over to QuickBooks. So how to do that, we need to go to our Office Operations tab, list our unposted stock items, and our Dealer Logic application is now connecting to QuickBooks. Once that connection gets established, we'll be able to see the units that we need to post over. So I have 4 items that need to be posted over to QuickBooks. I'm just going to post one. Expand the tree. Here's the Winnebago we want to send across. Double click on it. It automatically comes up with all the filled in terms and stuff. I'm going to select floor plan as my term, and everything's filled in. I'm going to create a bill over in QuickBooks, and I'm going to save that. So a bill gets created in QuickBooks. We'll go over and look at what happens over in QuickBooks. Go to our vendor center, and if you go to Bank of America, you'll see that we have a bill here for the Winnebago for WB 99,887. And because it was purchased back on 01/01 of 2012, that's when it goes in. So we have that bill. Our terms are floor plan, and it has debited our inventory serialized item, which maps to the chart of accounts. And I'm going to show you how that mapping works. If you look at the Dealer Logic item list, this is where Dealer Logic and QuickBooks tie together. So this is the QuickBooks item list. Dealer Logic, basically we map an item called inventory serialized, which if you look in the item list here and you go to the right, it shows you which account in the chart of accounts it goes to. So now if we were to go to our chart of accounts and look at the serialized inventory account, we were to double click on that, we could see the bill that was entered here debiting our floor plan for that amount. In the next video, I'm going to show you how to sell that vehicle. Thank you so much for attending, and hope to see you again soon.